Hello everyone, back at it with a new versus video. As you can tell, this video is going to be Alucard from the Hellsing series versus Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. This was certainly an interesting topic to look into, and not so much for the power scaling side, but how the respective hacks of each character would work on the other. This video is mostly going to focus on pre-Schrödinger Alucard, with the end of the video going over post-Schrödinger Alucard. I'll quickly go over the main Alucard scale, then pass the Gojo attack potency and speed scaling to Dark Temple, who is helping me with this video. So you should go check him out and show his channel some love. Alucard's speed is the more easy part, so we'll go over that first. The only calc you can really find for Alucard is when he faces Rip Van Winkle, as Alucard is piloting an SR-71 Blackbird, which gets torn apart by one of Rip's bullets multiple times in a nosedive. The SR-71 Blackbird has a top speed of around Mach 3 and is around 32.74 meters long. Calculating the speed at which it dives and how many times Rip's bullet moves through it before crashing into the carrier, you can get a speed of anywhere between Mach 33 and Mach 109, which is in the high hypersonic ranges. This is relevant as Alucard quite literally catches his bullet between his teeth in his base form. He also does react to gunfire a few times when he's not being turned into Swiss cheese, so there is that as well. Now, his AP is the hard part, as there isn't many ways to scale his AP to anything above wall or building level without his feat of flooding London with blood. The calc for said feat has a lot of contentions, but when calculating the volume, density, and mass of the blood spreading throughout London, we get a kinetic energy output of close to 8 megatons, which is city level, and a gravitational potential energy of 12 kilotons, or town level. Now, you could argue that Alucard can put out more force than this, as this is just him releasing his stored up souls, and that it's not really an amp to his base stats, which do get amped when he releases his seals. This can be argued by the fact that when he says his Bird of Hermes speech, his gloves/limiters did not glow, but the sigil on his coffin did. He also enters his level 1 state, or a release state, against Anderson under the influence of the nail, then proceeds to overpower him. So it is entirely likely that we haven't seen Alucard's full destructive capabilities. There is one other calc which involves Alucard creating a bunch of mist that covers all of Dover when he's moving the carrier ship with his telekinetic powers. This mist creation has been calced from city block to large town level, so all in all, Alucard is calced anywhere from large town to city level from his higher end feats. So I will now pass the next part of the video over to Dark, who will briefly go over Gojo's scaling.
So for Gojo's scaling, Jogo can create city-destroying meteors. A 15 fingers holding back Sukuna can destroy all of Shibuya, being calced at city level, and that should be the more accurate scale. If you want a higher interpretation on his scaling, consider checking out my Gojo scale. And his 200% hollow purple doing this. So yeah, he sits comfortably at city level to island via scaling massively above Dagon, who can create an island. For his abilities, he has Infinity, which creates an infinite space between him and his opponent. The Limitless techniques, which basically gives you the ability to manipulate space-time on an atomic level, giving him a color book as his moveset. Red and blue. Blue generates the power of attraction and cursed energy output. Gojo can use this to assault people with intense gravitational force. And red reverses Limitless through the concept of divergence, generating the power to repel. This technique can be used to unleash an immense amount of force in an instant, or can combine these two to create hollow purple using imaginary mass to erase anything in front of it from reality itself. Also has teleportation and can fly, can use infinite void to attack the target with an infinite set of information, and makes them see and feel everything and nothing at once to where they cannot move. For Gojo's speed, he scales relative in speed to that of Sukuna, who can dodge attacks that are the speed of electromagnetic waves, which are at the speed of light, putting him at FTL or higher, possibly due to the fact that he can move in spaces like the prison realm, giving him inaccessible speed for moving without time, but it's more consistent for him to be in the FTL levels of speed. or just even massively hypersonic plus, depending on how fast you think Kashimo is.
Thanks to Dark for that explanation. So as you can see, a more mid to high end Gojo is going to scale above Alucard in most scenarios. Unless you downplay Gojo's speed using the Mach 3 statements, then Gojo would be faster, even using the lightning speed scaling via Hikari or Maki's calc feats. So what chance does Alucard actually have? For one, Alucard does have a lot of hacks, most of them likely not being able to work against Gojo. An example being Alucard using mind control. But you can easily argue that Gojo is always refreshing his brain, or that he did resist a mind manipulation technique from Hanami to a degree, and at best it would only likely stun Gojo momentarily, if it would even work. Alucard is also extremely difficult to kill. Vampires on their own can recover from insane wounds. Even some of the mid-end vampires like Ceres post-awakening can regain use of her arm, which was severed and is shown to have it back again later. Alucard himself being a step above this, as he constantly mocks vampires for not having the ability to heal themselves or regenerate limbs. So it's within the realm of possibility for Alucard to heal himself from most of the attacks Gojo would throw against him. Even if Gojo can quote kill Alucard by piercing his heart with a stake or something, Alucard could sacrifice one of the 120,000 plus souls to completely revive himself. There are debates on whether Alucard actually needs to sacrifice a soul in such a way, as he and other vampires have shown the ability to heal without those souls. You could simply interpret that his souls are spent only if the damages he sustained are directed towards his heart via holy means. So in short, you can argue that he doesn't need souls to regenerate the more wild stuff, or that he does, but he is able to transfer himself between bodies or souls within himself, as we have seen before. I'll leave all that information up to you. But regeneration means next to nothing if Alucard can't really do anything against Gojo via Gojo having the Infinity, which everyone knows how it works, and we had Dark explain it earlier. You can make some arguments that Alucard could survive the domain expansion via the ability to transfer his soul into a different body or something, or that his brain could heal itself from Gojo's infinite void, but there's just way too many contentions on whether Alucard actually could. But then again, when he was dealing with Schrödinger, he was able to process his existence kind of getting all messed up, but we'll go over that later. Unless you argue that Alucard can stun Gojo with mental attacks briefly and hit him with an attack from Tubal Cain's soul in his body, which can negate regeneration to an extent, or use a Hellhound in that brief period to eat Gojo and assimilate him into his body, or just take his soul. So this debate really turns into, can Gojo permanently put down Alucard? Like Temple said earlier, Gojo can reduce things to imaginary mass with hollow purple, which is argued to be a very low form of existence erasure, which is already debated as if it's actually existence erasure or not. But a fun thing about Alucard is that he survived being turned into imaginary mass / numbers before. The circumstances were very much different, as this involved Schrödinger and him absorbing Schrödinger. And now we transition over to what I said at the start in reference to me talking about post-Schrödinger Alucard. How does this battle turn out when we give Alucard Schrödinger? For those of you who don't know, Schrödinger's paradox, or Schrödinger's cat, is a thought experiment. It states that if you seal a cat in a box with something that can eventually kill it, you won't know if the cat is alive or dead until you open the box. So until you open the box and observe the cat is simultaneously dead and alive. Now, Schrödinger within Hellsing is that concept brought into reality, as he's stated to exist everywhere and nowhere. Schrödinger assimilates himself into Alucard and basically shatters Alucard to the point he won't be able to recognize himself, as his mind would be split between consciousnesses. After he is absorbed, he's stated to be no longer alive or dead, and is turned into imaginary numbers, meaning he possibly does not exist anymore. After this happens, Alucard kills 3 million souls within himself except one, and when he returns, he then says, "Now I'm here, now I'm everywhere and nowhere. That's why I'm here," just as Schrödinger explained it himself. Now that Alucard could and possibly would have this ability, he could just choose to exist within Gojo's barrier of infinity and kill him. Sure, Gojo can regen, but if Alucard just decides to appear on Gojo and drink his blood to absorb him, or simply just kill him, then it's basically game over for Gojo. Either that, or it turns into an endless loop of Gojo killing Alucard, like Alucard himself does to Schrödinger, but it just just keeps happening infinitely or something. In conclusion, pre-Schrodinger Alucard gets stomped or draws via his extreme difficulty to kill, or he wins/draws via his use of Schrodinger. There's just so many variables to pre- and post-Schrodinger Alucard that this video could be way longer. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you all think, and I hope to see you all in the next one.